saying that until we actually put the record
Huh?
button. Are we unmuted?
No.
We're, yeah, we are unmuted.
All right. Are we on? Good. We're live.
We're on. We're live and we're recording.
We're live.
Everybody be happy.
All right. Happy second week of June. Today is June 9th.
June 9th.
I had no idea. I just took a guess at that one. Yeah, today's June 9th. Month of June for us. Steve is all about sales.
It's all about sales here on the Raw Take for CEOs. So last month we talked about marketing and had some good conversations. Kind of talked about our approach, some of the tools we use. Corey and John even talked to some of the customers that we are working with on their marketing. So it was a fun month. But yeah, we're changing over to talk about sales.
Yeah, and June for us is also Customer Appreciation Month. And we have some really great news on the marketing front that we're going to share with the audience. But today we do have a special guest, Sarah Courtney from Practice Ignition. So when we look at sales, right, we start off with lead gen, marketing, the nurturing pipeline, and then it's that's sort of all about the hunt, right, if you will, to use that analogy.
Yeah.
And this month is kind of about the kill, right? You spent all that time generating the leads, nurturing them, selling your value proposition, communicating your value proposition, and now you've brought the customer to the table. And many companies, they suffer right here. It is either internally a lot of hand holding, disparate systems, process, but we found that Practice Ignition was such a beautiful, tight bridge between the actual sales process and onto customer onboarding. So today we're going to have Practice Ignition on. And by the way, Practice Ignition is not just for accounting services or tax services.
Yeah, so it is a system we use to help us with that engagement, even the payment collection, so some operational stuff internally. But what we want to focus on, and they are in no way sponsoring this. Like this is just us. Like of all of our tech platform service providers, I have probably had the fewest complaints about Practice Ignition, and some of the most praise because they really have just knocked it out of the park. But it's not because of the operational efficiencies, though that's great. What we want to talk about here today is more about what it does for the customer experience, right? Because as we've grown, as we've gone up market to some degree, we have the customer persona looks different, both who they are as well as their history with us, right? There are less referrals, more like cold inbound leads, and therefore their expectations are probably a little bit higher. And those first 3 months are more critical because you have less room for error, right? And let's face it, in those first 3 months of a customer, those are probably where you're going to have most of your errors, right? Either because they did not give you the information or there's a misalignment in expectations. And so we've been investing in those first 3 months, customer experience, customer success, and Practice Ignition for us over the last 4 years has been a key part of that process.
Totally. The other thing we want to talk about is, so last week we sent out our newsletters to our customers talking about customer appreciation. We're going to be having a couple of little cool events in the month of June. Also, on June 15th, we're going to be calling up all of our customers. So something that we used to do back in corporate, sort of take one day out of the year and split the customer list and call all the customers and get the good, the bad, the ugly. So next week we are going to be talking about post sales, and we're going to have I believe Wide Whale, Matt Murray up in Burlington, and he's going to be talking about like the post sale piece of that sales and marketing value stream. And then the following week, we're actually going to share with the audience the good, the bad, the ugly that we learned on June 15th from talking to all of our customers, right? We all like to get good feedback, beautiful feedback, pat on the back. It is hard to take critical feedback, but it is important because, one of the things we talked about 2 months ago with customer success is that whole strategy, if you will, kind of came out of a customer that said,
give us
Even
bad
with us.
feedback, and they give us bad feedback by saying adios. And that's the, you don't want to get to that point, right? So you want to get the voice of the market. You want to get the voice of your customer, the good, the bad, and the ugly, so that you can auto-correct and self-correct as you go down
Agree.
the path with them.
And then the other thing we announced last week was we're officially launching our marketing as a service. And over the last 5 or 6 years, we've shared with the audience and we've shared with our customers our own experiences around marketing. And we're up to, I believe, 4 customers now on the marketing side, which is exciting. And that effort is being led by John and Allison, Emlyn now, a new hire, and Corey. So we're excited about that. And we see big opportunity to leverage what we already do for our customers. So that's exciting.
Yeah, totally. It just it's part of like building things that the customers need.
And I'm totally stoked for that.
And
Because we're focused on the data piece, right? We're not focused on like blue sky. We're not focused on, hey, we can get you 1,000 followers. We're going to increase your SEO from, 10-fold. That's not what this is about. It's about, here's the data and here's the journey, right? Here's what the journey is going to look like.
And in the same way that we do for accounting and for finance as a service, like, we can serve small customers, we can serve large customers, because we are not like on the ground trying to drive like X number of social posts, right? We're trying to drive rigor and cadence, and that comes with data, right? You get the feedback from the data, and it's data, it's management framework that drives that rigor and that cadence.
Cool. So let's bring Sarah in. Let's start. You can finish my sentence there, Stephen.
Yeah, this will be fun.
Yeah, no, this would be good. It's actually quite an interesting journey that we've had. So, hey, Sarah.
Hi there. How we doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Glad to have you on board the podcast. Thanks for doing it.
It's my pleasure.
Cool. So let's start with I was talking to Sarah earlier and I said, we're going to approach this more through the lens of all of the reasons why we never wanted to use practice ignition, right? Because it's actually an interesting journey. And I was kind of explaining to Sarah, and I promise I'm not going to do all the talking, but a lot of times when business owners look at acquiring a new service or a new product or bring on a new vendor, it's that equation, right? You have expenses and revenue, and we never make that decision through the lens of revenue, customer enchantment, right? Opportunity. We're always saying, okay, so how much is this going to save me, right?
Mhm.
And that was how we always looked at PI for the first 2 years until we had that leap of faith. And what we realized was, oh my God, like this is a beautiful thing. It helps our customers. It's a great transition between that first sales call to signing that engagement agreement. So we're happy to have you guys on as part of our tech stack.
Yeah, excellent. I mean, I think just like you said, we want to provide a simple and seamless buying process for you, right? We want to ensure that you can have a seamless experience in onboarding your customers to your firm.
I think PI has done a great job of focusing on the firm's needs as well as that of the customer, right? Because you have made it a more beautiful experience for the customer to go through that engagement process. And on the same side, for us internally, it's a platform that we now manage all signatures, all payments through this. We're not like juggling DocuSign Word documents that are templatized and need to be filled out. It's a beautiful thing.
And I'm not even sure what we would do without PI now, right? Not that I want you guys to raise my prices, but they did. They are an integral part of our tech stack, but more importantly, the marketing, sales, and onboarding, they're just such a critical connective tissue between onboarding and sales.
I think your point of why didn't we do it? And we did not want to have the expense for what we were replacing at the time, but we've been on board for probably 4 years now, and we wouldn't replace it, right?
I think we prepaid for 3 years.
We did, yeah. And thinking back to like what is if we were to do the whole equation over again, it would be more about what is the customer experience, not just what is it saving us, but what's it reducing? It's reducing risk, right? It's reducing risk around collections. It's reducing risk around that, that customer mismatch of expectations, right? We have more things to go back to, more openness, communication with the customer.
best investment.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Just I know you joined Practice Ignition as our kind of account. But you can correct me on your title. But what brought you to Practice Ignition and what gets you amped every day?
And hopefully Ryan's watching and listening.
No, I think we might have lost her for a second.
Technician for about a year and a half as a senior account manager. And what brought me to Practice Ignition, I worked with another financial technology, another SaaS company called Xero. It's a small business accounting software prior to working at Practice Ignition. I worked there for 6 years, and that's what kind of brought me to seeing Practice Ignition. I got to know the team there, really passionate, intelligent group we have here at Practice Ignition. So I was excited about the team that was working here, but most importantly, really excited about how their technology was sort of innovating and disrupting in the accounting and bookkeeping space. So was excited about the technology, the innovation, the kind of rapid growth of the company. So started about a year and a half ago at Practice Ignition and have loved being here. Yeah, it's been a great ride so far.
And what is your role there at the company, and how do you work with companies like ours?
Yeah, so technically my role is senior account manager. So I work with a number of our customers to help ensure they find success in using Practice Ignition, to help ensure that they get value out of their investment, they get a return on their investment. Practice Ignition users are paying a monthly subscription fee, and I want to make sure they get every piece of value they can out of the software. So that's my ultimate goal, is just to provide a great experience and make sure that all of our customers have success in using PI.
Yeah, and that's interesting because PI, it tends to be a sticky product. I mean, once you get over that onboarding phase of creating your templates, I mean, you know better than I do because you're definitely more involved than I was.
Yeah, no, the great feature rollouts. Templatize your engagement letter. You can even have options, in bronze, silver, and gold if you want. So your customer can be part of that journey of, again, that customer experience, right? For value added services. Here, do you want the $1,000, $2,000, or $5,000 a month version of what we can offer you? One thing that's I've found interesting about Practice Ignition, just to kind of give the listeners a little more kind of that foundational knowledge before we get into the fun stuff of like talking about why we think it transforms the customer experience in that journey, the sales journey. But you have focused on accounting, finance, bookkeeping firms. Other than that industry focus, there's nothing about the technology that's limiting you to that. I mean, we've referred you guys to customers in the architectural space. We've referred you to customers across the board, across industries. And you're not focused on that, but there's nothing about the platform that necessarily limits you to working with just accounting and bookkeeping firms. Internally, like what are those conversations so that the listeners can get a better understanding?
Yeah, I mean, we've really kind of designed the product for accounting and bookkeeping firms, but we're not limited to that. We work with a ton of service providers across a number of different industries. I mean, really, we're helping any type of business to really simply create and send a beautiful and smart proposal, allowing their clients to then really simply sign and pay, review, sign, and pay all in one place. We like to say from proposal to paid in one place. So certainly not limited to accountants and bookkeepers, but really designed to nicely lay out your deliverables to make a great buying process for your customers. Yeah.
Yeah, no, like to your point, like review, sign, and pay, right? That pay is a part that keeps going with the customer, right? So I think one of the good things about that customer journey is you're not passing them off from your engagement letter platform to your payment processing platform, and you're not introducing room for error, miscommunication. Where do I go to pay this? What happens? We've invested in that process, especially over the last 18 months, from the generating those leads through the first 3 months of that customer's experience with us. Like that's probably where we've spent an outsized piece of it. Because once you get into that just month in, month out service provision, things are kind of like bumps are leveled out, you're there, right? It's really over that, like, how do we go from that driving the marketing lead and setting their expectations, closing the deal, and as you were saying earlier, like, it's part of this, marketing is all part of the hunt, and this is part of the kill, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, today is about customer enchantment, but I'm curious, one of the things I liked about the approach of practice ignition was the value-based pricing. How do you guys, like, how you go to market? Has that changed? Because you're dealing with like evangelizers, if I will, of PI, so it's kind of unfair, but the average firm probably is not looking at PI the way we do. So how do you guys go to market today and sell that value proposition?
Yeah, I guess kind of back to your earlier point, we strongly believe that that providing a kind of simple payment cadence, a clear way to pay, a clear schedule for payment provides a great experience for your customers. So we've, designed our platform to allow you to set any type of schedule for payment collection for your services to then automatically from your clients. So the value proposition there is just, you don't have to worry about any.
Right. So, and so, but you're still selling the service less of a opportunity cost, and you're still focused on the payment, things that are tangible, things that are like efficiency based versus, hey, this is actually a beautiful experience for your customer,
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely focused on the value. That's why we coach a lot of our customers too to move into value-based pricing. Absolutely.
How much of your conversations with your accounts are focused on that customer experience side of it, right? There's a lot of value to the payment processing, all in one place, engagement agreements, all of those
that's
things.
like low-hanging fruit.
That's low-hanging fruit. That's value for us as your customer, right? For our customer, the end user, so to speak, like, how many of your conversations with your customers, like firms like ours, focus around this piece of how does practice ignition help my customer?
Yeah, I'd say a vast majority of our conversations focus around that. A vast majority of the content that we build is around that too, how to provide a great customer experience by, setting up a really clear expectation, a really clear deliverable on your proposal, by setting a clear pricing schedule for your customers, by, using, like you mentioned, 3 options to provide your clients choice in their buying process. There's quite a few features in practice ignition that we think enhances that sort of initial experience, right? Like that's your first experience with a prospect. That's your the first time they get to interact with you. So you want to make sure that proposal looks professional and represents your company and your brand in a way that you feel good about. That isn't just a word proposal that, may have spelling errors or, doesn't have beautiful graphics. Like, you want that experience to be your first experience to be as beautiful as the experience that we know your firm provides to your customers month over month.
Isn't it? It's such a cool thing, like listening to you, like we're all focused when we're selling and when we're marketing, we're so focused on selling our value proposition to our customer. You guys are in a position where we're actually selling our services, not to GrowthLab, but to GrowthLab's customer. And therefore, like, helping GrowthLab, companies like ours, increase customer engagement, customer enchantment. I think that's a really cool sort of second derivative way of selling. But anyways, that's just kind of a little.
It totally is. It's good. It's good for business leaders to think about that, right? Because it's all about the customer journey. You want to increase your revenue, your price. You want to increase your lifetime value with the customer, right? And that's what our motto is. We want to partner with our customers, be part of their management teams to help them grow, right? If we don't help them grow, then we're not necessarily doing them any favors, right?
Yeah, we don't have any skin in the game when when we refer customers to PI or when we refer customers to any of our other tech stack. Although everybody's, oh, we share revenue or we'll give you discounts, right? Like, no, we don't want that. Like, we don't even, that to us, it's just like dirty. Like, we're trying to create an ecosystem here that ultimately helps our customers be more successful so that therefore they'll be longer term customers, right?
What feedback have you gotten from the end user market, like direct to practice ignition? I'm curious if you've had any of those like official feedback loops. Kind of short.
Yeah,
your customer, which is GrowthLab.
Sure, we hear about that pretty regularly. I think like often we hear just a great initial experience. Wow, this proposal looked beautiful. Wow, signing and accepting the proposal was super simple. Wow, this really helped show us what your services are actually going to be. I think like for accounting and bookkeeping firms, much like a lot of other service providers, they're hiring you because you have the expertise that they don't have. They want your end users want your expertise so they can continue to focus on building and growing their businesses. And, Practice Ignition assists with that in a great way. So, yeah.
And I think it's a good thing for CEOs to think about, right? Like, how do we make that process smoother, right? Because it does provide a better customer experience. And as you were talking, I was just thinking back to the times before Practice Ignition, Dan, when let's be honest, we used to sit in front of the computer for those high value customers. I remember one of the first times we sold a sizable bookkeeping accounting package on a fixed fee basis. And we sat in front of that computer and wrote that email. That took us like probably in total, we spent hours doing that, right? And it was worth it, right? But part of that is getting us through that journey of what is value-based pricing, what does it mean for us? How do we move customers that are used to the hourly model? Because we had a portfolio of customers that were there, right? We didn't have the benefit, so to speak, of starting de novo and just having beautiful processes and procedures from the beginning. We acquired a business that had customers that had long-standing expectations.
I think ultimately, like every business inherently has resource constraint, right? And so you need to focus on the value streams that drive the greatest value, that creates the greatest customer satisfaction, increases customer engagement, enchantment. Because you can't spread yourself too thin. So if you're spending 20% of your time on marketing, right? But you're only spending 2% of your time on scoping out service and engagement agreements, because PI, just like HubSpot, it's not a silver bullet, right? It still requires a high level of touch. It's just the touch is redirected not on, collections but focus more on what is this customer's needs and what can we provide.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Sarah.
Yeah, I mean,
I think tough internet connection with Sarah. Sorry, if you could repeat what you just said, Sarah.
Yeah, apologies. Sorry, internet, working from home, you know how it goes. So,
no problem.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Perfect. Yeah, I think, just like we talked about before, like displaying your services or deliverables in a way that are clear and concise help to ensure that you set a good expectation with your customer on the services that you'll be providing for them month over month. Help to set a good expectation of your value, certainly. Yeah.
So I made the analogy, HubSpot, Practice Ignition. I'm sure there are plenty of customers that sign on to PI just like HubSpot, and they're realizing, oh, this is actually a heavy lift. Like, I actually have to throw resources at this. But that's the thing. We're not putting it in place to save money or to cut corners or even call it streamlining, because I always say I can always throw bodies at the problem, right? What it does do is it creates a constant, consistent experience for all of our customers, not just that one first big customer that you spent 2 or 3 hours building out the engagement.
Yeah, and it forces you to standardize across from marketing.
The experience.
The cross experience from the marketing team even to the sales team, right? And let's face it, for a lot of companies out there, you got a sales force, and they each have their own kind of way of doing things, right? And they're used to being forced into a CRM, right? If it's not in the CRM, it doesn't exist, right? We all know that saying, right? And so I think with Practice Ignition too, or thinking about your sales process, how do you standardize that process so that salesperson A and salesperson B and salesperson C don't have three distinct value communications with the customer, right? Practice Ignition, does a good job of that, being able to centralize more of that, kind of extending the CRM to the sales close process. It's something I enjoy, appreciate about it.
Yeah, and you make a good point. There is an investment in the front time-wise, right? Just like with any technology, the investment that you put on the front end will help with your success in that and using that software in the future. And that's part of what we focus on, our customer experience that we're providing in those first 90 days, ensuring that all customers get their service library set up, get their deliverables clearly laid out that will make the most sense. So there is some time investment on the front end, much like there is with a lot of technology, but we really kind of hold our customers accountable to that time investment on the front end to ensure that then proposal building and the sales process is simple for them in the future. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the customer success role at Practice Ignition, like many companies, because we had this same topic about a month ago, it's becoming a more crucial part of the company, right? The foundation of the company. Because as companies grow in scale, you can't just run over to the CEO or the owner of the business, right? Or to the salesperson. So this customer success role is one helping centralize customer communication, customer engagement, interaction, but more importantly, it's ensuring that the customer successfully leverages your products or services.
Yeah.
Sure. And so, Sarah, when you left Xero to come to PI, was your background in customer success at Xero? Oh.
Yeah, absolutely. I did a variety of different customer success and account management roles there. So have sort of built my career on customer success. Yeah.
Cool. I got to ask a personal question though. How's it working for Ryan?
Ryan's our all-star at Practice Ignition. Gosh, he's been working with the company for, I think, almost 6 years now, and has played a variety of different roles here too.
He's a great guy.
I know he was early on your contact at Practice Ignition. Is that right?
Yeah.
Got you set up and rolling in Practice Ignition?
Yeah, I still Slack him privately once in a while. See how he's doing.
Sarah, what are you most excited about at Practice Ignition over the next 3 months, next 6 months?
Yeah, we have some incredible feature enhancements that I think are going to be big for our users. Some long asked for features that I think will continue to help drive success for our customers, continue to help customers provide great value to their end users. So innovating certainly over the next few years, we're definitely continuing to grow as a company too, and hiring on additional great, passionate talent. So that's always fun to see growth in companies. We certainly have lofty growth goals, as I'm sure every company does, but know that we'll be achieving those and innovating in just an incredible way over the next year. Yeah.
So to kind of go along those lines, so maybe I'm going to give you some feedback where I would like to see Practice Ignition going.
Yes, we'd love to hear that.
If you kind of think about the things that we initially talked about, the payments, the engagement agreements, sort of the things to make life easy, the low-hanging fruit. If that's par for the course now for Practice Ignition, wouldn't it be nice that PI actually becomes a customer engagement, customer enchantment platform where beyond the engagement agreement, helping companies like ours who believe in NPS scores, right? Net promoter scores, and helping us engage with our customers. I'm not saying like creeping in too much into the HubSpot world, but you really could be butting up against the CRM, butting up against, and everybody throws around CRM. I don't really care about the CRM. What I care more about is like helping us communicate with our customers in real time and be able to capture critical feedback, because let's face it, you guys have all of our customer data. Because if it's not in PI in this business, you're not a customer. That's kind of our rule.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think currently we're integrating with some workflow software that is sort of filling that need for us, but
We
definitely.
don't like Zapier and stuff like that. Like we're not too
But
much for us.
But definitely, we'll continue to build on our platform, and, the customer experience is certainly top of mind for us. So we'll continue to build that out. Love the suggestions and the feedback, and we'll certainly take that on.
Yeah, I love the customer experience platform. So cool. Any other questions? Do you have anything else to add, Sarah?
No, thank you so much for having me on. It was great to join today. I love listening to your podcast, and I'm happy to be a part of it for today.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Sarah, and say hi to the team over at PI. And Ryan.
Well, you have a great day.
All right.
Thanks, Sarah.
Bye-bye, Sarah.
Cool. That was fun.
Yeah, that's good.
I think it's so important to think about the customer experience, and those first 3 months, especially with service-based firms, that's super critical. Yeah,
in contracts and engagements, whether you're lawyers or architects, pretty much any service-based business where there is there's a sort of a tail end to the sales cycle, the contracts, the pricing, the scoping. I think systems like PI, we almost take it for granted. Like if you're in the contracts department, it's just going to be a cluster. You're going to kind of have to hang out there for a little bit and kind of go with the flow, if you will. And that's not fair, right? Because for our customers, they are taken care of during the marketing, they're taken care of during the sales process. And there's no reason why that the engagement agreement, a contract function needs to be a blockade, right? Doesn't need to be a hurdle. And I don't know, maybe I love lawyers, my best friends, but I sometimes feel like the lawyers are kind of, they create this friction for the customer.
Kind of said another way, every sale does not need to be an enterprise sale, right? An enterprise sale does require lawyers to be involved, 5 different iterations, red lines, the works, right? Legal department is legal department. Not every contract needs to be that way. Not every contract can be that way, especially if you want to do value pricing for your customers. How do you pass on value to the customers? You have that standard terms of service, just like Facebook does, or just like any SaaS business does. As a service provider, you can have, here are my terms of service, and that makes those conversations more efficient.
Yeah, and we don't think about it this way, but having systems like PI and more standard approach to terms of service, it is a good way to also weed out customers that potentially were never meant to be your customer.
Right.
So that's sort of maybe the darker side of that. But anyways, what's up for the rest of the week for you?
The FP&A team is in town this week, so it's been fun. They've been distributed across the country, as I'm sure many of you listeners, your teams have been, and so been fun to be in the same room, be able to kind of work to some degree the way we used to. That's been fun. So a lot of the time has been focused on some of the customer work, and
not to mention
the team
late
together.
nights.
Had dinner with them last night, which was nice outside. It's been warming up here in the Northeast.
Yeah, and we're taking them out for some summertime cocktails with a few banker friends today. That'll be fun. So yeah, no, it's been a great week. It's nice to have them back in town. I also think it's important for the training and development, right? So next week we have a new hire, Riley Hunt. Hunt, right? Yes, Hunt. A recent URI graduate. We're excited to have him on. He's going to be one of our newest financial analysts. Obviously, Griffin's here. And having the team back in town for some training and development and some camaraderie. Always a good thing.
Definitely.
Cool. On that note,
we'll see you next week for I've got blanked on the topic.
Wide whale.
We'll see you next week for
Post-sales.
Wide Whale coming on board to the podcast. to
Post
talk about
sales
that
and
post-sales
customer engagement.
engagement. Look forward to it.
Cheers, buddy. Bye.